Good afternoon. Hey, Christopher, Ulysses, how you guys doing?
Hi there.
Good,
I'm good. How are you?
good, good. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
All right. Letting the other people enter the room here. All right. Hi, Michaela. How you doing? Go ahead and turn on your camera. There you go. All right.
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. All right. Welcome, guys. We only have one more person, that'd be Cassie, but she was a late ad, so we may not see her, but I appreciate it. Hey, Chris, are you going to have your SSP on later at 5 o'clock?
Yes, I will. Yeah, I invited him and he'll be joining.
Awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay. This is a general PLC meeting, and Chris, you're new to the intern program. You're in 650A, so I'll go over a little more detail with you. Michaela and you'll see us. I've had for a little bit now. Uh,
Mhm.
you'll see us. You're actually starting 650B this week, and Michaela, you're in the tail end. You'll be starting 650B in March, right? Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. Well, again, welcome. I appreciate you guys coming here. Um, the first thing I do want to go over is I want to get some feedback. Um, before I do that, Chris, are you actually in class teaching right now?
Um, I'm not, yes, I am in a classroom teaching. I'm currently in my classroom. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
How
I'm
long
a
have you been
classroom teacher.
teaching?
This is my uh halfway through my second year.
Wow. Okay. But
Mhm.
this is your first NU course, or at least 650A.
Yeah, right. This is the
Okay.
first of my internship courses.
Got it. Okay. All right. But you have a lot of teaching experience. I'm finding that pretty common. Um, so that's good. Well, then this can go for you as well. Um,
Cool.
how about a little bit of feedback on TPE1, which is basically engaging your class, controlling your class? Um, I mean, I see nothing but good things on there. Michaela, you have a full class, right? And you'll see us, your class is pretty small, correct? Is it going to continue that way for 650B?
Yeah, so for my chemistry classes, they actually brought down the sizes to about 15 students, and the one I'm recording in right now is 7. Originally, I started with 15, and now it's down to 7 kids.
Wow, that's a big reduction there.
Um,
Yeah, huge reduction. Chris, how big is your class?
My largest class is 38 students. My smallest class is about 29.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
Check that out, you guys.
a little bit different, a little bit different.
That's the teaching I grew up. I mean, I experienced, a class of 25 to 30 was actually heaven for me because I've dealt with those numbers that are get ridiculous. And so, with that said, that definitely offers different challenges, the number of students. Wouldn't you guys all agree? Now, Ulysses, have you dealt with, for any long period of time, a larger class?
no, definitely. So last year, well, my first year teaching, I think all my class sizes were 26, 27. I think my smallest one was 17 or 18.
Okay, so
So
you're
this
right there.
year, yeah.
And Michaela, how many are in your class?
So I teach shop classes. They're supposed to be maxed out at 25. I started the year with some of them being almost 30, but they dwindle down. And so I'm at 26 as my largest, and then my smallest, which is my advanced class, is 15.
Okay. What do you guys feel? I'll throw this out there and then I'll ask you guys to kind of give me, or maybe a 30-second response. What do you feel is the biggest challenge for TPE1, which is fully engaging the class? Anybody want to volunteer?
Are we responding to our current classroom size or just in general?
I think you could go in general because you guys have a lot of experience. If this was your first time teaching, that'd be more specific, but in general. I'd say.
For me personally, especially kind of ties into the larger class sizes. I feel like when the classes are that large, my biggest challenge is to make the content relevant to all of my students, or at least try to get them to see the value in it. I also teach chemistry, so a lot of students that I have are like, "Oh, when am I ever going to use chemistry in my life? Or when are we ever going to use this?" And I do my best to explain to them when I can. It's not necessarily just about like knowing things as much as it is learning. But I think that that's my biggest challenge is that some kids they just really aren't interested in it, and it's difficult sometimes to get them to be interested in it.
Yeah, I taught chemistry many, many years too, and it was almost like your haves and have not. There were the kids that were into it, kids that didn't want any part of it. So yeah, that is always a challenge, making it relevant to them. Anything else?
I think for me, it's like just the like monitoring that they're all engaged with with the material itself, especially in a bigger class. Just monitoring student learning. It's tough when you have 30 kids, for example, compared to my smaller size of
Yes,
15. So I definitely had to use more grouping strategies last semester than I do now with my 15 or 7.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Anything else?
I think pretty much the same as far as for me, it's kind of keeping kids actively engaged as far as I have a lot of varying levels. So introductory level kids like never used or seen a tool in their life versus very advanced kids and making sure that my advanced kids have something else to move on to or else then they start causing problems and keeping them going on something else.
Right. Okay. Um, next little thought there. Um, how do you guys deal with students that are not engaging? We all
Um,
have those, don't we?
I have a lot, yeah. Uh, or at least a handful. I just do my very best to always encourage them to engage. Like whenever I'm like, just walking around my classroom, I offer them help. I'll offer to sit down and like walk them through with it just to hopefully get them started. I also do a lot of like collaborative activities in my class. I think it's helpful sometimes if a student isn't really interested in participating, but they're kind of sitting with their friends, they're maybe more likely to participate in the activity that way. Um, but yeah, just constantly trying to provide them opportunities to engage and always letting them know that it's important to me and that I want them to be engaged. That's what I try.
Good point, because Chris, I was just going to say the one way to get around students that why are we going to learn this? What good is it? A lot of times they'll learn just for you. Okay, so if you're showing interest in them, they're going to show interest in what you're trying to do. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I think a big thing is giving students a why. In my class, I like to use the reference a lot of, well, you're getting paid for it. You put in the work and you get paid with a grade. And if you put in enough work, you're going to end up with a good grade in here and be successful and know what you need to know and learn how to do what you need to do in here.
And how does that work for you?
I feel like it works really well. I think I'm also in a unique position where I don't necessarily have problems motivating kids because they love being up and doing things in the shop. It more so happens when we are doing book assignments or other things like that, where you really have to tell them, no, if you don't do this, you don't get to go in the shop tomorrow. And I feel like that works really well, giving
I,
something to motivate them.
and I can see that in your observations. You're a very powerful teacher, and you command attention just with your presence, which I think is really, really important. I also think, in one way, we're kind of entertainers. Okay, if we are excited about our subject, that's going to, carry over to them. If we're bored with our subject, they're going to be bored. I can remember some of my best teachers were so excited about it, what they were teaching, and they made me excited. So, okay. So getting back to my original question though, what do you do with those kids that are not engaging?
Like
Anybody have a
just
win
to
or a
kind
loss story or whatever?
just to kind of piggyback what Chris said earlier, I think those positive reinforcements are essential from day one. Like when you start your class, you tell the kid, "Hey, good job, thank you for participating." Oh my God, like oh my gosh, like um, you made my day today. You know, you raised your hand or you spoke out, you did this. So those positive reinforcements to me are crucial. And then when I don't have these kids engaging, I like to take the time, especially in the beginning of the semester, to get to know my kids. I ask them what sports they're into or, you know, what their interests are. It doesn't have to be a sport, or if they're a student athlete, then I try and attend those games. So then I use that kind of to incorporate it into my lesson as well. I can think of a few students in my classroom that are really into like cosmetology and cosmetics. So when I'm teaching chemistry, I try to pull in some of some of the chemistry into there, and I tell them, hey, you know what? Did you know this chemical is used for this? That this is safe, or just tying it into my lesson as best I can. But just pulling from their, I guess, prior experiences and their interests. That's what I like to do.
Well, I think that's very effective. Absolutely. If you can get them to think about what interests them, they're going to be more engaged. I mean, think about a teenager who learns the lyrics of a song like that. Why? Because they like the song, they're interested in it. So it sounds to me like you guys are, uh, we're actually talking about TPE too as well, creating a effective learning environment. Um, Let me ask you this: what is an effective learning environment to you guys? What does that mean? If a principal came in and says, "Hey, how's your learning environment?" Chris or Ulysses or Michaela, what would you say to them? They weren't in your classroom.
For me, the biggest thing is safety, but with that, making sure that every kid feels comfortable and confident enough to try to do everything, even if they are not good at it. So building that confidence
Love it.
towards safety.
Yep, love it. That's great synopsis.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Michaela. I think safety, just making sure the kids feel like encouraged to participate and safe if, you know, maybe their ideas or their thoughts are incorrect. Just feeling safe to share, especially out loud in the class is a big one for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, Chris, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree with the safety, with it being like a welcoming environment where students want to be. I think, I want my a productive learning environment to be somewhere where people are they feel comfortable sharing their ideas with their group members. I also think conducive learning environment also like reflects the students' work as well. I think that having the students have some form of ownership in the classroom and taking ownership of their learning is really important to me. So I like to have a lot of their work up on the walls and like their projects I display.
I could tell you guys, even though you're quote unquote rookies, you're not rookies because this is all spot on stuff. That's that's perfect what you guys, all three of you, have said about creating a classroom where they're engaged, they're excited to be there, there's expectations there. Chris, I haven't watched you teach yet, but I'm sure your class is probably in great control. You have great management skills, I would assume. Um, because when you have good management skills, and I preach this over and over, the number one skill a teacher can have is classroom management, because without classroom management, you can't do anything. And, you're not there to be their friend, you're there to be their professional educator to guide them and support them. And, so as long as that's established and you have great control, you can do amazing things in the classroom. Um, which leads me to my last little topic is TPE3, which is understanding and organizing the subject matter. Do you guys have any issues or any concerns? Uh, and since you're not first time in the classroom, maybe reflect back to your first time in the classroom and where are you now? So that first month in your classroom, the very first time, um, how have you grown since then in organizing and arranging your subject matter so you feel like you're in control and you're not stumbling over what you're teaching? Where maybe that was never a factor, but share with me a little bit of your growth on that.
For me, I always felt super confident with the subject matter. Like I loved chemistry. I've been, just living in it for years and years. But definitely the planning and organizing was a big struggle for me at first. It was very much like a day-to-day thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would
One page ahead of the kids, huh?
exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe like yeah, an evening ahead of them where I'm planning the night before
Right.
and then I come in and I do the lesson the next day. And I still make my PowerPoints and I still prepare things, but the planning for the instruction, I already have like the next 2 weeks planned out. And I do that with my PLC. I have a very, very productive PLC that we meet daily. We have one period of the day set aside for PLC. And it's just been really nice to organize and plan and see how one concept leads into into the next.
Yeah, absolutely. Great feedback. Michaela, Ulysses, thoughts?
I was in a very similar boat. I think my first year was day by day. I really felt like I needed to plan everything very specifically and make sure I was ready. Whereas now I'm comfortable enough with everything that I can look ahead weeks and be like, oh, okay, I need to get this ready. And that makes it a lot easier. But I still feel I'm the type of person I have to have a solid plan and be organized
Yeah.
before.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. Ulysses?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the first month or two, I was trying to plan ahead and I didn't really understand what it meant to plan ahead. Think I remember the first month thinking, oh, I have my units set out for the semester. And then I would go into class and teach my section. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I need to rework this. So then I would do it right before the next period. And the kids were getting different stuff or different pieces. So it was definitely a train wreck the first month. It took me a while to definitely get the train rolling, definitely, or the ball rolling. But now I feel more comfortable. Just like Chris said, I think my PLC with my group, it's really helpful. We only meet once a week. I would like to meet a few more times, but they definitely do help.
Did you guys find that your class control might have suffered that first month?
Definitely for me. I think because thought I had everything organized and I was kind of adapting on the fly.
Hmm.
Um, it made it tough to monitor the learning and then also, produce what I wanted in the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's understandable. Um, you guys have heard the term growth mindset, I'm sure. Okay. So I'm sure as you guys get more and more comfortable with your teaching and your lesson planning and your organization and class control, you have a mindset that how can I do this better? How can I reach more kids? Maybe eventually you'll have a goal where you're reaching every kid. Um, maybe you'll be able to someday have a relationship, a professional one with every student in your class. Because we all know that there are students that, lack of a better word, maybe it might be our favorites, and students that maybe not quite so much our favorites. Well, someone who doesn't have a growth mindset would never break out of that. They would always just, engage with the kids that engaged with them, and the ones that didn't, tough luck on them. That's where a lot of teachers go. They stop growing. They lose their excitement to reach as many kids as they can. Um, so, how do you guys feel that you will never get into that trap?
I think for me, the school that I attended, or at least the way that I learned chemistry, was very different from the way that we teach at the school that I'm at currently. And I think I had a very like different expectation of the type of curriculum and also the abilities of the students. I think I kind of came in assuming that all these kids would be great at math and that they would all like
I
be like,
remember.
oh boy, let's jump right into balancing equations or whatever. But that is far from the reality. And I think that just making that my goal in a sense, like making the goal to push the students as far as I can to try to make the chemistry class more of what I was expecting when I came in. Like to make sure that I have the time to cover all the things that I kind of want to cover, while at the same time being true to the standards, right? Like just making sure that I'm having high expectations for the students, I think, maintaining those high expectations.
Excellent. Excellent. Any other thoughts, Michaela, Yossis, on that?
I think for me, so my chemistry experience at my high school, um, you would have never thought, or I would have never guessed I would have became a chemistry teacher. Just like you said, I think my teacher, he kind of ran out of gas. Definitely had his favorites. He had a routine. He's like, all right, if you sit in the front, you're getting an A. If you sit in the middle, B or C. And if you're sitting in the back, then you're most likely to get a D or an F. And I would sit in the front, and I remember getting a B in his class, and I tried so hard. And I think about that question now, and it's like, well, I don't know if I shared this with you or with my classmates now, but so I came back and I'm teaching at my old high school. And I think my goal is very community oriented, where it's like I want to reach as many kids like myself, to get them excited for science. I think for me, I was kind of stripped away from that. And then when I got to college, man, I was all for it. I had a great experience there, and I want to provide that to to my community and to the kids here.
I think one of the most rewarding things is reaching a kid that seems unreachable. um, because I want to respect your guys' time, so I do want to get into a couple of little mechanics on the class. But one thing that I always hung my hat on was try to see through the eyes of my students, not through my eyes. And if you can do that, if you can have that ability to see the world through their eyes, not yours, you're going to be able to relate to them a lot better. That's going to affect how you teach, the pace you teach, what you teach, your patience level, everything else. So I'll just share that with you. I don't know if you guys have real quick have had thought of that or want to elaborate that at all, but I think it's a real valuable skill. Anybody have a quick comment on that?
Yeah, I'll comment on that because it kind of goes with the last response. I also teach at the high school I graduated from. And so I feel like I can relate to the students now of like, yeah, I went here. I know what it's like to grow up in this community and live here and deal with that. But as a teacher, I've seen a completely different side of it. Whereas as a high school student, I wouldn't have imagined that some of the peers I had were probably going through what I know my students now are going through. We're a
Mm-hmm.
very low income community and very rural, and there's all sorts of challenges that come with that. And so when you have a student open up and share what's going on in their life, you're like, wow, I don't know how I can expect you to be a student today, but we're going to try our best and I'm going to be here to support you and we're going to make it work.
That's great. Those words to a student should ring loud and clear in there. I understand you. I understand where you're coming. Together, we're going to try to overcome this. That's going to really make them feel good. And again, if you have great class control, you can have these conversations with your kids. So, oh, looks like Brian is coming in. All right, Brian Richards. Hi, Brian. How you doing? We're just finishing up here, so we'll get into the SSP portion. So just hang out. Appreciate you being here. I do want to share my screen. Just I want to kind of little housekeeping thing. Be real careful when you guys do your lesson plans that you're doing following the right template. Okay. So for example, let's go into this one right here. I think Gil says this is your class. Okay. It always loads a little bit slower when I'm on Zoom. For example, this is what I mean. Like in the PLC meeting 5, which pertains to Ulysses, but not Michaela, but you're all going to end up in the same spot and not for Chris. Okay, but the one thing you just want to be careful of is when you're doing your lesson plans, you follow the template that works best for you. And you guys, I'm assuming, are all in seminar classes as well, right? Which is a whole different ball of wax. I can't believe how hard you guys have to work to get your credential compared to when I was getting mine. I can appreciate the effort you guys do, but it is a lot of work, and I get that. So, but what they're saying here is, for example, for observation 5, so Michaela, this will be you and Chris on 650B, Ulysses, this is you right now. But just be aware, I encourage you guys to go to these PLC meeting tabs and just get a look in here because this is where they kind of throw announcements out that you may not be aware of. Okay. So what they're saying here is interns take their seminars. You're either taking 551A or 551B seminars. Is that correct? Are those the numbers that correspond to you guys? Okay. Basically, when for consistency and to make your life easier, it makes sense to use the 650B lesson plan that aligns with your Cal TPA. So in a sense, you're making one lesson plan, not two. Okay. So you submit one to Cal TPA and then you submit it to me. So what they're saying is for observation number 5, so really this is in the future for some of you, but for Ulysses right now, if you're taking 551A, you're going to use lesson plan template A for 15 points. Okay, if you're taking 551B, you're going to use lesson template B. So basically what they're saying, A is kind of corresponding to the 650A class and B kind of corresponds to the 650B class. But I mean, if you don't do this, you're just creating more work for yourself, which is, I mean, it's not going to affect your grade at all. They're just making you aware that you can combine your lesson plans and not do double the work. So make sure you're aware of this, okay, of these things. I don't need to read these to you. You guys, I do want you to go to them. And with that said, with the lesson plans, and I know I've gone over this with Michaela and Ulysses and Chris, this will be new to you. Make sure when you guys are writing your lesson plan, okay, for any one of the lesson plans in my classes, that you have the rubric right next to you. I would encourage you to print out the rubric. Don't try to do the double screen unless you happen to have 2 monitors, but have a copy of the rubric. So when you are writing your lesson plan on your template, your focus is the rubric, not the template. Because some of the rubric topics are not necessarily on the template, or they're kind of glazed over a little bit. Cal TPA is going to watch this and I'm going to watch this. So as you go through your lesson plan, look at the rubric, look at the first topic first, and then put that into your lesson plan. Look at the second part of the rubric, then put that in your lesson plan. Okay? You guys have been doing a great job with this. I'm just reminding you of this, how important it is that you follow the rubric. Because if you don't follow the rubric and you leave stuff off, you can't get any points, right? Okay? So I definitely wanted to, make sure you guys were aware of that. And you know where to find the rubrics. Anybody not know where to find the rubrics? We're all good? Okay. And don't forget the ISV hours. Don't let those kind of sneak up on you. Okay. And basically anything that has to do with your teaching could be considered an ISV hour. Department meetings, IP meetings, IEP meetings, anything like that, parent teacher conferences, any of those are ISV hours. And we're not going to go back and contact your school to make sure, oh, did Michaela really meet at this department on, last week between 2 and 4? No, Okay, it's the honor system. But with that said, there's a lot of flexibility on the ISV hours. Okay. Any questions?
One quick question. Does ISV include like the hours that we're in class teaching?
No, that's
Okay,
one.
okay.
Yeah, that's one thing it does not. It does for the 550 class. They're not really ISV hours. They're just called, they just consider those teaching hours. Okay. And then don't forget when you put them into the class, make sure you're uploading those properly. And again, everything is on here in the class. They explain it really well. And one thing I do, this will be the last thing, and I'll leave you with. So this is kind of a new thing with National. Okay, it is. Go up here. Course attendance affirmation. How many of you know what this is? Else does? That's it, huh? Okay. If you don't do this, National gets all over me, and then I'm going to have to come after you. Basically, do this. Don't forget to do this. What is it? Well, if you click on it, it's just something that's really simple. Basically, it's you're going to read this, but basically, they want you to log into this class the first week. There's been students that don't even come into the class website till week 2 and 3. So this is you affirming that you attended the class from the first week. Okay. And if you don't do this, then they get all upset. So make sure you go into this tab this week for the classes just starting. So that's Ulysses, okay, and Chris. Michaela, you're not going to see this till next month. Okay, because I don't think they did it, last semester or whatever. This is all pretty new. Okay, so make sure you do that. If you have any questions, you guys can reach out to me, my cell phone number, text me, call me, email me. Okay. All right. That's it for this. I'm going to get to the SSP meeting. And so, Chris, you and Brian, this is for you guys. Ilsis, Michaela, I appreciate your attendance. As always, you guys are doing one heck of a job. And our next meeting will be, next month on the Thursday at 4:30 again. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
By the way,
you.
Ilsis, way to make up for lost time there. That was incredible. I knew you'd do it.
Oh man, I feel like I'm definitely on the crunch right now. I'm gonna try to get everything done by May and then submit my first and second cycle before June. So
Yeah, let me just leave you with this. As we roll into the end of the year, Michaela, your class is technically going to end at the end of July, but with National, but I'm assuming you're teaching one before that. Most of you probably end in May. So, if you want to get ahead and be done when you're done with your teaching and you go home, you want to be done with National. You don't have to be, Michaela, because yours goes later, but just keep that in mind. If you want to get ahead, but go right ahead. Okay. I think Yosis and Chris, you guys will be fine because your classes end at the end of May, but Michaela, yours goes till the second one will go into June. Nobody wants to be doing national or teaching on June 15th, right? So, okay. All right. Thanks, guys. And we'll go on to the next part of the meeting. Appreciate it. All right, Brian, how you doing?
Hey, Thomas, I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Yeah, have we met before? You look familiar.
Yeah, have we met before? You look familiar. No,
Okay, we got a background. Okay, that's fine.
no, I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine. All right. I don't know why we have feedback.
I don't
You
know
guys
why
hear that?
we have feedback. You guys hear that?
Hey, maybe Brian, go ahead and mute your computer.
Hey, maybe Brian, go ahead and mute your computer.
Okay. Hello? Yeah, that's better. No feedback here. Okay, that's fine. All right, Brian, I'm just going to kind of introduce what this is all about. It's pretty simple. This won't take long at all. And I appreciate you being there for Chris. And I want to talk a little bit about what we're going through, just so you have an idea when Chris is working in the class, what he's doing, and that's all. And then we're going to talk about how you get paid, whether you get paid through national or through your school. I'm not sure about that, but whatever way you do, I'm going to take care of it. So let me pull this up. I got a little slide presentation. Okay. All right, so this is our triad meeting that we're doing. Basically, it's a meeting between, the SSP, me, and the intern. Okay, just so we're all on the same page is all. That's the only point of this. All right. So basically, I've been working with National since 2004. I was a chemistry teacher for 30 years. I did both of them at the same time. So I got a lot of experience at National. And Brian, are you, tell me a little bit about your teaching. What are you teaching now?
I am called a teacher support mentor in our district. Every teacher that is pre-credentialed and or in induction, TK through 12th grade is assigned a mentor to walk them through the PIP, STIP intern programs and year 1 and year 2 of induction. So my background is in science. I taught, this is my 32nd year, so I've taught most of the sciences a few times over and a few other things. But I'm in Madera this is my 10th year.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, great. Perfect. And Chris, I know a little bit about you. This is not your first rodeo. You've been teaching, sounds like, in your second year there. So I can just tell by your demeanor as well. Seems like you really know what you're doing. So basically, Brian, we're going to go over, like I mentioned, we're going to go over the course overview, the key points, action items. Then if you have any questions, okay. So basically, how this breaks down, this is me. I'm the university support provider. I'm here to help my candidates, whether they're interns or student teachers. I'm going to work with the SSP, which is you, Brian. Okay. One thing that I would like from you, Brian, is you send me a bi-weekly, that's every other week, so 2 per month. Basically, it's a progress report. And I'll make sure you get that. And it's really simple because I don't want to take your time. It's just like a 5 items checklist, rating, horrible to great. Boom, boom, boom. Send that to me twice a month. Okay, I'd like to hear from that. And, if there's any issues going on with your intern, which is Chris, feel free to reach out to me. Okay, but you're here to support Chris, not me. You're here to help Chris, not National University in the class. But it's important that you know what he's going through. Okay, we have meetings once a month. Not with you, Brian. You don't have to attend those, but with my interns. Okay, and we always do those on Thursday at 4:30. So basically, your job is you're obviously mentoring and supervising Chris, and how much of that is pretty much dictated by you. Okay, and obviously how comfortable you are with him teaching in the class, and you got pretty much enough experience where you know how much support they're going to need. Okay. So the student teacher, we're not going to talk about because I don't have student teachers in this class. You guys, you're an intern. Okay. But so we'll go past this. This is all student teaching. Okay. And, I like to kind of go through this, even though they dictate student teaching. This is a full-time job. And with the interns, that's pretty self-explanatory because you're in there every day. It's your class. You're running the show, Chris. And so, if you don't show up, obviously somebody else has to step in. And, but we expect you to be in there all the time, as does Brian. He doesn't want to have to take over your class. Absences come up, people get sick, that's no big deal. What I would appreciate is if you're going to miss a class, Chris, just send me a quick
Hmm.
text or email. Just let me know. Okay.
Gotcha. Yep.
Obviously, I don't do anything about it. I would just like to know. So I'm going to give you my cell phone and my email as well.
Okay.
Okay.
One,
Go ahead.
sorry, one quick question about that. Um, so part of my part of the support that Mr. Richardson provides as a TSM is we go to do observations at other school sites. So
Oh,
we'll go and we'll see like chemistry teachers at some of the other Madera high schools and see what they do. Uh, if we're doing something like that, where I'm still kind of at work, still doing work related activities, but I won't be in the classroom, is that something you'd still want me to let you know about?
just out of interest sake, I find that fascinating. I think that's kind of uncommon too. I think observations of other teachers is incredibly enlightening.
Hmm.
You can see what works and what doesn't work. So, I mean, if you don't let me know, that's fine. But I would love a quick text. Hey, I'm going over to Madera tomorrow, or I mean, to some other high school to check it out. And you can even use those as ISV hours as well.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. Um, by the way, I'm going to go to the formal. Before I get into this, Chris, have you had a chance to look over the handbook?
I have, yes.
Okay. How about you, Brian? Have you been supplied a handbook? I'll unmute you. Okay.
I have a copy of it and it's up on my screen now. So I haven't read it, but I'm aware of it.
Perfect. Don't read it. It's there when you need it. I find if I have a question, I go to the table of contents, and I know you guys do the same thing, and find my question. To read it ahead of time, I think is not real valuable because it's boring, and
Hmm.
what are you going to get out of it? It's more of a resource. Okay, so I'm glad you got it. So that's good.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, one thing that, just so you know, and we'll finish this up, Brian, this is what Chris is going to be doing every month. Okay. He's going to do a lesson plan and he has a template that he's following and he has a rubric. And you were here when I was talking about that. And I would like that submitted. That's the first thing that's submitted during the month. I usually want that, the second week of the month. Then what they're going to do is they're going to videotape that lesson. It's a little tougher with student teachers, but with interns, it's beautiful because you guys are running the show. So you don't have to worry about impinging on somebody else's class because it is your class. So ideally, you're going to now take that lesson plan that you submitted to me and you're going to videotape when you teach it. Okay.
Mhm.
And so I would like that lesson plan at least a week before you videotape because I grade it right away and I'll send it back to you and use that as a reference and then you videotape. So that's the second thing you're going to do. First thing is your lesson plan. The second thing is you're going to videotape that lesson plan. How you videotape it is totally up to you and your school rules. Obviously, the more I can see, the better. But if
Mhm.
there's rules against filming students or whatever, then you abide by that. But if there aren't, most interns put a camera in the back of the room or off to the side and just roll with it. So
Mhm.
that's the second thing. But that's going to occupy a lot of your time because once you videotape your lesson, then you're going to annotate it, and we'll talk about that, Chris, in detail. But that usually takes a lot of time.
Gotcha.
So, um, if you want to turn in your lesson plan early so you can get to it and have time to annotate it, you can turn things in early, no problem. Okay. Um,
Sounds good.
The third thing that you're going to be doing every month is what we call a running record. It's a TPE running record. And this is basically a spreadsheet of all 6 TPEs. And we know there's 6 of them and they're broken down into parts, anywhere from 6 to 9 parts, right? So that's
Hmm.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
Um, and when I started teaching, these did not exist. I think it's a great framework and a blueprint for how to be an effective teacher. So what you're going to be doing, I encourage you to keep this TPE running record, print off a copy of it, and keep
Hmm.
it at your desk. So when you're doing in your day, and you recognize that you're doing one of the TPEs, make a note of it on the running record. Okay. Because that's a lot more effective than going back when you're home and thinking, okay, what did I do today? Which TPEs? If you have it right there, you make quick notes. That's a running record. I don't expect you to have notes on all 6 TPEs, all the divisions, but
Mhm.
get as many as you can. And you
Got it.
don't have to double entry. So in other words, if you did TP1 and you have one entry, you don't really necessarily need to come back a month later and put another entry in for TP 1.1. Okay.
Okay.
Because I
Mhm.
had one student that did all of them the first month.
Wow.
So there was nothing left. They already did them all. And that's not the point. The point is to spread them out and
Got
just
it.
make you a little bit of the whole point of the running record is just make you aware of what you're doing in relation to the TPs. Okay.
Got it.
So that's that's the third thing you're going to do. So once again, your assignments during the week are your lesson plan, your observation video of that lesson plan, the running record, and then logging your ISV hours. Okay.
Mhm.
So Brian, if you're looking over his shoulder and you're wondering what he's doing, that's the class in a nutshell. That's what we do. It changes a little bit at the end. They have a reflection video that they do, but basically that's the meat of this class. Okay. Um, Now, what I'm going to do, first of all, do you guys, either of you have any questions for me? Okay, I'm going to unmute you, Brian, and I won't talk. I think the feedback happens when I start talking, so I'm only going to talk when you're muted. So I'm going to unmute you and then I'm zipping it. Nope, I don't hear you. Hold on.
How about now?
Okay, got it.
Okay. Thomas, does the USP do site visitations and visits or no? Okay.
No, it's not practical because obviously I'm in San Diego. You guys are up in Madera.
Oh, okay. I've worked with National before and they had a mentor that would come out and visit us a few years back. But
Yeah, they don't, they may have done that. I've been with the mentor program now probably 4 years. I used to actually teach online classes, so I've never been asked to do that for obvious reasons. So to answer your question, no.
okay.
Okay, what I do want to say is I'm going to send um, an email out, and Brian, if you could email me your contact information, that would be great. Let me just give you a real quick email, not my national because it's too long. And just send me a quick email of your, your cell if you're willing to um, have that, and I can text you if need to. But definitely, um, obviously your full name and your email. So my email is tlux 406 at AOL.com. TLUX 406 at AOL.com. If you wouldn't mind sending that to me, I'm going to send the information that National needs from you. Okay. And I don't know if you're getting paid by National or by your school district. I know they won't allow double dipping. Do you know what you're being paid by or how?
In this position, I'm not certain. I texted my supervisor, and he said that it would go directly to me, but I just did that now because I didn't know. I thought you would ask that question, and I wasn't certain.
Okay. Well, I'll send you the information that if you're going to get paid with National, you do it all online to set it up. So I'll send that over to you as well. And then I'll also send you uh, that biweekly form, where you just check off
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
I'll send that to you too as well. And
Would you would you like me to send you my log that I do monthly with all of my mentees?
in addition to the biweekly checklist,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be great. I would love that.
All right. Oh, it says I have to be cautious with you, Thomas.
An email outside of the district.
Yeah, it says I gotta be cautious with this guy.
Yeah, no, I will respond back with my national, but for you know, sense of ease, it's just easier to do that. But I'll turn around and respond with the national. We'll keep it all in line so they can track us all and be in compliance. So um, that's it, Brian. If you don't have any more questions, you're free to go. I know it's 5:20 on a Thursday and probably got dinner waiting. Chris, I'll just spend a few more minutes with you, but I
Sounds good.
appreciate you, Brian, showing up.
You got it. 2, 3. All right. I'm just sending you my phone number and my email. And
Awesome. Thank you so much.
if I don't do it now,
I hear you.
yeah,
Okay.
okay, cool.
All
All
right.
right, guys.
All right. Thanks.
Good luck, Chris.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson.
You got it.
Okay. So let's go into your class here. I'm assuming, Chris, you've kind of navigated a little bit through this.
I have, yeah. I've been going through everything, trying to check it all out.
Oh, good. Good. Then you're way ahead of the ball game. Now, one thing I do want to talk about real quick is the annotations. So I'm going
Okay.
to give you some idea of past students so you kind of see what I think you're probably okay with the lesson plans and the rubric. Did that all make sense to you?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the annotations. And I'll show you a past student just so you kind of know.
Sounds good.
Okay. Go here to Michaela. Michaela's doing a terrific job. So she's just finishing up 650A. Okay.
Very cool.
Let's go to by the way, I put all the due dates and everything over on the homepage.
Okay, thank you.
And you know what? Here's the thing too. I know life happens, and I do have due dates in there. Do your best to meet them, just like you would with your kids.
Yeah.
But if something comes up and you know whatever, and you're not going to be able to make a due date, I'm fine with that. Just send me a quick text before.
You got it.
That'd be great. And let me give you my cell phone.
Okay, thank you.
You obviously have my email, but it's
Yes.
760
Okay.
803
Uh-huh.
4633. And if you wouldn't mind sharing yours with you, because a lot of times I
Yeah.
do group text with all the interns. Okay. So this is Michaela's first annotation and video. So when you guys submit it, I think you're going to see a similar format to what I see as your professor here.
Okay.
Give it a chance to load up here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's her observation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's a video of her teaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the way to do these annotations is to go ahead and upload your video.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll have this over here, and then this is where you're going to type in your comments. Okay.
Yeah.
And these obviously would be blank. The purpose of you annotating is this. It helps me, two purposes. It helps me be a better eye in your classroom. Because if
Okay.
I'm just watching this video, if the quality isn't there or whatever, it's real hard for me to follow what's going on. Okay. So she's teaching a lesson. And what she's going to do when she starts annotating, she's going to pause the video. It's paused right now. And she'll go over here and she'll click one of these buttons. Okay. These are the 6 TPs. So she's talking about TP2.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to tell me what's going on at this point in time.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And she puts in bold, you know, keywords that are part of the TPE grouped and paired and whatnot. Okay.
Got it.
And then she's going to, and this right here occurred from the very beginning. You see 0 time on there. Okay.
Got it.
Then she went back and now when something changes in your lesson, that's when you're going to annotate.
Hmm.
Okay, so obviously at 3 minutes and 21 seconds, something changed that she wanted to tell me about.
Got
And
it.
I'm going
Got
to
it.
give TPE 1. So she told me about it. Okay, adjusted instruction is, see how this really helps me?
Hmm.
Without reading this, I can probably figure out because I'm going to listen to her, but hey, she had to adjust her instruction,
Hmm.
whatever reason. And that's what she talked about.
Gotcha.
Okay. Then it's set, and now nothing really happened between 3 minutes and suddenly at 7 minutes. Okay. Established expectations. So she was probably doing a lab and
Hmm.
laid out the expectations as you would do with your chemistry, especially if you're using a Bunsen burner or something, so you
Right.
don't put your hair on fire. You're going to establish expectations and you're going to tell me about it. And you're going to,
Hmm.
because that's TPE too. Does this kind of make sense?
Most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, see, sometimes she writes a lot, like here, man, that was a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
Hmm.
Not so much here and especially here, but that's okay. It is just going to be based on what you're teaching. So this is how the annotations go. Okay, so she's talking at 7:39.
Hmm.
Something changed. She's now in the third TPE. Okay, now you don't have to hit all TPEs in one lesson,
Hmm.
right? You can't plan your lesson like that.
Right.
It is what it is. So I'm glad you understand that. So this is what the annotation looks like. So you can see it takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It sure looks like it.
Yeah, she puts a lot of. This is an amazing TP. I've had some that are where students just write one sentence. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say quantity, quantity, it's quality. So whatever is quality to you is going to be fine. What I loved is the bold-faced words because I could go through
Hmm.
this and just based on that know what she's doing, right? She's incorporating USB feedback. Okay. See how
Gotcha.
valuable that is? Okay.
Yeah.
And then once I'm done with my comments, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. Okay. I want
Hmm.
you to understand this too. This is for me to do. Okay. So after I've read your annotations and commented, I'm going to go through the observation rubric and kind of rank you.
Hmm.
Rank's not a good word, but I'll just say it. I'm going to go through all 6 TPEs and give you a number. Okay. This number is not meant to be a grade at all. It's just a number reflecting what I saw. For example, at the end, the last TPE is 6.7. This particular thing was not part of her lesson. I
Hmm.
didn't observe it. So I put not observed. It's a 0. Doesn't mean she flunked it. I just didn't observe it, right? It wasn't there.
Right.
And on this one, darn right, she was integrating. I mean, she went from, emerging, developing, applying, integrating. So this is just
Wow.
levels of skill.
Hmm.
It doesn't indicate your quality as a teacher. Okay, you might have been doing this TP and just barely touching on it. You're kind of like introducing it a little bit. So I'm going to give you a
Yeah.
1. So what's going to end up happening is you're going to have a score here of about out of 168. Okay. That
Yeah.
score could be 20 points out of 168. It could be 150 points. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a holistic reflection. So when you do your next observation, if your score improves, all that's telling me is you're doing more TPEs better.
Got it.
Okay. But
Yeah.
it's not a grade. Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So that's kind of how those roll. And basically in this class, you only have to get, I think, 83% to get it's a pass fail class.
Okay. Okay.
There's no A, B, or C. So as long as you get an 82% of everything, and I have not had a student not make it.
Got it.
It's not hard to get that.
Hmm.
So as long as you're completing everything in the grade book, you're going to be fine.
Sounds good.
So any questions on that?
No, that looks good. It looks very intuitive, like the
Okay.
timestamps and the buttons. That looks really very
Yeah, yeah,
straightforward.
yeah. So the only thing I'll just leave you with is just make sure that you do. I think it's actually over here. Oh, see, no, I don't. let's go to your class because see that affirmation attendance thing is not in here because they didn't imply it. Let's see if they're making you do it now. I assume
Let's
they
see.
probably.
Yeah, I'm in Brightspace as well right now.
Okay. See if you can get to it faster than me because
Oh, yeah, I see it.
okay, so they're making you do it, but it's just a formality, so not
Yeah,
too.
it says that there's no score or anything attached to it. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
because
will do that. I'll do that right now as soon as we get off of this meeting.
all right. So that's it, Chris. I'm glad to meet you. Glad you're here, and look forward to working with you. I think you're probably my guess is you're a pretty exciting chemistry teacher. I taught that for many years, and I know there's good teachers and bad teachers, and a lot of it is based on the personality of the teacher. Will make or break the class.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And it was very nice to meet you as well. I'm excited to learn from somebody who's taught chemistry. It's really nice to learn from other science teachers.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very cool.
I taught regular and AP and IB Chem. So
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. I loved it. I love teaching chemistry. And believe me, when I was in high school, I ran from a chemistry class. I was so far from that interest, and it's funny how I ended up in that. I don't know what your story is, but that was mine. So
I took summer school classes so that I could take more science classes. I
oh,
took summer school to get PE and stuff out of the way so that I could double up on science.
that's awesome. So
I
you
ate it
all
up since I was a kid. Yeah, I always knew that that's something I wanted to do.
beautiful. That's great. Well, your experiences will, you know, I'll tell you. Um, the kids you reach, some of them will tell you about it, but many of them
Mhm.
you'll never know how you affected their lives. But you affect every life of every student um, you come across, and it's really rewarding when a student comes back 5, 10 years later and says, you changed my life.
Yeah. And even though my first year and also this second year has had a lot of really challenging moments, um, I've never really had a moment where I'm like, maybe I don't want to be a teacher. Like even on my worst days, I'm like, that's like, yeah, today really, really sucks, but that's not too bad. It was a decent day.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. I could probably count on one hand my bad days in 32 years of teaching. Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So I love it, Chris. Okay. You have any more questions for me?
I am all set. Thank you very much, Professor.
Okay, and if you have any questions on anything before we meet the next PLC, which will be um, in March, that first week in March, feel free to reach out.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
All right, you take care. Bye bye.
Have a good evening.